In Pompeii, the city that the Vesuvius froze in the year 79 AD, there is still room for surprise. This time it is not a luxuriously decorated villa or an intact fresco under layers of ash, but rather something much more humble, some almost invisible love graphites in the corridor that connected the theaters with the Via Stabiana. If you like the content we are sharing, don't forget to subscribe and give like. Your support is essential to keep bringing more fascinating stories from the past. The corridor was excavated in 1794, in the early times of Pompeiana archaeology. Since then, about 200 inscriptions have been documented on its walls, many of them known for their direct and passionate tone. However, recent research has shown that this wall still had much to tell. Through campaigns developed in 2022 and 2025, an international team has identified nearly 300 inscriptions in total, among them about 80 that have so far gone unnoticed for the human eye. This leads us to reflect on the richness of the history around us. The fascinating thing is not only the number, but the nature of these messages. In the same stretch of wall coexist loving confessions, insults, and drawings of gladiators. It is like an old public forum, a social network carved on the red and yellow plaster of an urban space very frequented. Among the new graphites identified, one has aroused special interest. A brief statement that begins with the name of a woman, Erato, followed by a verb that leaves no room for doubt. Erato loves. This message, although incomplete, invites us to imagine the story behind him. The inscription presents paleographic features that suggest a chronology prior to the eruption of 79. This implies that the phrase may have been recorded more than a century before the ash sealed the city. A detail that connects us to the past in an intimate way. Erato is not an ordinary name. Their presence in a public space indicates that female literacy was not exceptional in Pompeii. Women did not just read these messages, they also responded, which shows us a more complex social dynamic than we thought. The corridor thus becomes a space of exposed emotions, where the intimate becomes public. Along with Erato, other known voices reappear, such as farewells to lovers and pleas to Venus. All this leads us to ask ourselves, what other stories and emotions are hidden in the walls of Pompeii? If love occupies a prominent place on the wall, the ritualized violence of the amphitheater is not left behind. One of the most striking finds is the drawing of two gladiators, which reveals a surprising artistic sensitivity. Pompeii's history is rich and varied. Technology has played a fundamental role in the recovery of these messages. Thanks to advanced digital imaging techniques, new inscriptions and spatial relationships between them have been documented. This transforms the corridor into a coherent epigraphic landscape. In Pompeii, where each finding seems to compete with centuries of previous research, the theater corridor remembers that there are still stories to discover. Sometimes an incomplete phrase is enough for the past to beat again with unexpected intensity.